with Beard! Hey, podcast kitten, it's Cathy Cat and...
Ladybeard, welcome to yet another installment of Cat with Beard! Yes, I have so many bits of paper to throw! I'm about to scratch it where the hell I like. It's fantastic! Oh my goodness, how are you today, young lady?
I would like to throw some paper too in a very ordered manner.
Oh, yes, very
for
well.
the start of this. It's wonderful to be here, and it's wonderful to see that you guys have actually sent us emails. Thank you!
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it very much. All those of you who send us emails, thank you. We are going to spend today answering a fan mail. This is fantastic. First time on the podcast. This is
Which
wonderful.
also sets the theme for the whole thing, because it's going to be talking about school in Japan.
It certainly does. So, this is from Seaweed. Thank you very much for writing to us, Seaweed. We're very grateful. Hi, Ladybeard and Cathy Cat. That's you and me. Hi,
hello.
Seaweed. Lovely to see you. I love listening to your podcast.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that's nice.
Yeah, and
Thank you,
don't forget to
sweetheart.
rate it 5 stars.
Bless you. Mwah. I have a
6.
question for you. If you want to have kids, would you want to raise them in Japan or your home countries? I am Japanese living in the USA. I had a baby last year, but none of my family members have yet met her due to the travel restrictions.
Which is, yeah.
This made me feel really guilty about living so far away from my family because those lost months they can't spend with their newborn will never come back. But it's got me thinking about the future from a new perspective, and now my husband, who is American, and I are thinking about moving back to Japan. How do you feel about raising your kids or living so far away from your families? Do you think Japan's a good country to raise kids? Well,
there we go.
this is
Raising kids in Japan.
I will be honest, I've never raised a child.
No. I have taught kids as a teacher. So I've done it from toddler age to grown-up age. I've taught a variety of Japanese pupils.
Have you done that in Germany or
in
elsewhere too?
Japan here. So I've taught a lot of Japanese kids. Education starts incredibly early in Japan. That is not a joke. I literally had women who came to an English class and the baby wasn't even born yet.
Oh, wow.
So they were like, oh, no, it's fine. Like this. They're like, oh, no, it's fine. You know, just
They want
sing
to
to me.
expose the fetus to English.
Yes, they want to expose the fetus to English.
Wow,
And then
that's dedication.
you teach them kind of lullabies to then sing to the kids in English once the child is born. So education in Japan is on a whole new level. I know it cuts a little bit into that stigma of the Asian boy or girl studying a lot. It is true, though. It is very much expected of the woman in the household to become like a manager of the child and make sure they study well, they do a good job. And it is also said to be a job of the wife to make sure that their kid is trained the best way, to then go into good kindergarten, to then go into good primary school, that will get you to a better middle school and then maybe the best high school. And in the end, the massive goal is to reach a prestigious, very good university. It is a hard study in life. Not all parents are like that, but the ideal goal is, for example, go to Todai, Tokyo University. If you reach that, you're definitely going to be employed in the future. People will say, oh my gosh, what? Your son went to Todai, to Tokyo University? Oh my God, what? Like, that is like elite. You reach that, but you can't just get there by walking in. It's a lot of hard work and a lot of studying.
From the womb, it seems, right?
Apparently some do literally start with training the kids in the womb, so...
Right from inception. So before we really dig into this, I think we should specify that everything we say is but a matter of opinion of the two of us. And I think, you should really make the decisions that you feel are best for you and your family. And I think that's totally a matter that only the individual can really know best for themselves.
Exactly. What I've seen a lot is, because obviously the listener mentioned that she's Japanese, her husband is American. I've seen if you move kids from a country to a different country, they will experience a culture shock.
Really? Even when they're small?
It depends on what age they're deciding to move the child. Obviously, if it's a toddler right now, maybe they won't because they haven't started going to school yet. Some kids love it. Some people have problems adapting. It really depends on what age you're moving them. So good point you mentioned there.
Baby, he or she or they don't know what's going on.
Exactly. So right now might be the time. Now might be the time. So, I'll just let this one go. Sorry, wild here. So To explain it to all of your listeners, Japanese, first of all, you have hoikuen, or which is like the step before then you go into kindergarten. Then you have like also that one, and then elementary school, primary school. That's generally 6 years long. So that's like the longest time you're in the same place is 6 years.
Okay. Well, it's primary school, you reckon?
It's like primary school, like elementary school.
Age 6 to 12 sort of thing.
Yeah, and then you have junior high for 3 years, and then high school for 3 years. And then university can be 4 years in the university. Sometimes colleges are shorter than that.
Okay.
So this is like the average study life.
Okay, so now, you came up through, you grew up in the German school system, and you went to a gymnasium or something similar, is that right?
Well, Germany is a different one. We kind of, at the age of, I think a tender age of like, how old are kids? Like very young, like 11 or something. They kind of, they split you up into 3 different pathways. Yeah. One is like working class, one is middle class, and one is you be able to go to university. Sorry, I'm very salty about that one. I think German school system makes that choice too early. Okay. When kids,
at age 11, yeah?
Let me just wait a second. I think 5th grade elementary school is when the rest of your life kind of gets decided at that point.
Oh, wow.
And if you are a late bloomer or like a late starter and you don't know how important the grades are in 5th grade elementary school, it could change the outcome of your entire life later. So, like I said, every kind of institution like that, every system has its pros and cons, right? In the end, do you really want to train your child up to go to an elite school, or are you just good with saying, as long as they have fun, I love my child kind of thing? So it always depends what are your expectations as well. But I must say, I criticize the German school system for making that choice so early. Why kids are so early? I'm like, come on, people.
But here in Japan, we're making choices in the fetus stage of life. So if we're going to talk about early choices, then we have a big old comparison to make. Just FYI, I went to school in Australia. We don't care at all. We're very casual about the whole thing. You just go to school, you do whatever the hell you want. You don't want to study, all right. It's fine. Okay, so now.
School life in Japan, though, I've been actually going to an exchange school as an exchange student, and I have also taught a little bit at schools. So I have seen some very wonderful things at Japanese schools. So, for example, in the morning, there'd be a thing called chodei, when all the kids come together and they sit down on the ground and the teachers have tell something to them, and then maybe they play some games before they go into class. I've seen that in elementary schools. And there's a nice system in many elementary schools that will put different year groups together. So usually you stick with your year, right?
Yeah.
Your first, second, third, you kind of stick with this. And the younger ones are kind of, oh, you're not cool.
Yeah, of course.
And the older ones, you're like, oh, they don't want to hang out with us.
Badass. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what we think, right?
Yeah.
And they use that power to group the kids into different levels. So you have one from year 1 all the way to year 6, and they have that morning group. So they have to help each other. The older ones help the younger ones, and the younger ones love the older ones.
Really?
So they're like, oh, cool, my senpai is playing games with me.
I can imagine to be like, if you're in year 1 and you got a senpai in year 5 or 6, I can imagine that relationship would be great. But I imagine year 1 to 2, that would be maximum bullying relationship, right?
I think Japan has different rules on bullying. I think that breaks into a topic that would probably need a whole podcast for it. But generally, if there is some bullying, teachers are actually obliged to, if I get that right, to actually tell. Teachers already have a morning assembly too. And if they see there's some bullying in their class, they have to tell other teachers that they think there's some bullying in their class. And if it doesn't get resolved, it actually has consequences for the teachers.
Okay. All right. So now,
but that's a whole new topic.
But looking at school in Japan from your experience, compared with Germany, how do you feel about the curriculum itself and kind of the value system that are taught within the Japanese schools? From what you can tell?
Curriculum, I have no idea.
Why aren't you teaching these children?
Oh,
How can you not know the curriculum?
I don't know the German curriculum.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what is currently getting taught in Germany.
So I guess curriculum is the wrong way for me to phrase my question. In terms of what you see is the way that kids are instructed in Japan versus the Western world.
I think everything everything has good and bad points. What I thought was really nice in Japanese schools is all the other things around the studies.
Okay.
Meaning those groups in the mornings where
Okay.
you kind of
I
hang out
see.
with your senpai, or after school, there's a lot of school clubs, like club activities. And that can go from physical things like sporty things, or just like study things like literature, or it can even go to say, come on, let's make a newspaper, or let's make the radio announcements. There's a lot of little jobs that kids have to do in elementary school in Japan, which I think is cute. It goes from watering the flowers to taking care of the rabbits to making sure you dish out food at our lunchtime. And it teaches kids to kind of like work with each other, live with each other.
And you didn't have to do any of that in Germany?
No, we don't have that. Do you have that?
We had some of that in Australia when we were kids, like responsibilities for the classroom. Like there'd be a class plant, and then like all throughout the year, everyone has they have their week to water the plant kind of thing. So you learn responsibility bit by bit. At least that happened in my school. I don't know what happens in the rest of the place.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not watering the plants and stuff. I think with us, it's like school's over, you go. Like, well, here in Japan, it's like school's over.
No, you stay
You have a
for
lot
the
of
next
things
10
to
hours.
do.
Yeah, so with the club activities, everyone in Japan, they pick their club activity. I don't know when they pick it, but then they only do like one thing, yeah? They do it every day. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it depends on, like, I think in elementary school, sometimes they make you shuffle through depending on the school. But then for junior high and stuff, those 3 years, you do one thing for 3 years. And it might be volleyball for 3 years and you practice every day. Or it might be like an orchestra that you learn songs with and you do that.
So if you're into art, I'm just throwing it to the Japanese team. If you're into art and you're also into baseball, can you do both at the same time? Can you be a baseball club and art club?
Time-wise might be tight.
One
I can
club! Hey!
Only one!
One club! None of this diversity, multi-skilling. Thank you. In Australia, we were encouraged to do as many things as we could.
I think that also ties into how many hours does the club need. Some clubs seems to have more requirements.
Dedication.
Like I heard a lot of like volleyball, you have to, especially if you're the junior coming in, you have to like go early, clean the dirt, like the area, make sure the mat and everything is taken out for your senpai when they come and greet the senpai. And then afterwards you clean up after the senpai too. So that takes a lot of time. And then you have to repeat that on the next day. So it consumes a lot of time.
So I feel like what we were talking about with Jackson in the pro wrestling episodes is the exact same dynamic, except run out by school kids.
You're
It's
learning
not
it
been part of
early.
the culture. My goodness. Now I feel in the Western world, comparatively, I'm not sure about Germany because you guys love rules. In Australia, we're very casual about most things, really. So comparatively, I feel like in Japan, everything's very systemized and there are these rules which must be followed and adhered to very strictly. In Australia, there's a lot more free choice. There's a lot more kind of, of course, you got to go to school and you have to do your work and all that kind of stuff. And if you're in an activity, you got to follow the rules of the activity. But there's a lot more sort of freedom to make choices for yourself as a child, it seems to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Germany we don't have, for example, those strict rule club activities, but we might be able after school to pick a different sport. They have loads of sport gyms and locally as well. And I think it has a plus and a minus. If you get along with people in your club in school, that's great. But if you don't get along with kids in school, by going to a club activity outside of school, you have a different circle of friends. And if I don't get along with these, it's not my problem. These people like me. So I think there's a plus and minus. It really depends on what the environment is. And you mentioned rules.
You guys love rules. You're all about
The
rules.
Germans do rules. But I think Japan has taken it to a whole new level. But some of those things were really great, like the establishing a positive relationship between the junior and the senior, the senpai and the kohai. It helps Japanese people on the long run in society because it still continues into society so heavily.
Very much so, doesn't it?
And just them getting along from that early age, like the young kids learning to listen to the older ones and the older ones who thinking they're cooler, kind of like, okay, that first grader saying they're cute, like I'm going to be the bigger sister or the bigger, they're stepping up their game, and that teaches them a lot of responsibility early. One thing, what we don't do in Germany, I'm not sure if they do that in elementary school, but I think from middle school onward, kids have to clean the toilets.
In Germany or in Japan?
In Japan.
They clean the toilets.
They clean
Guys
their
gotta
own
clean the
toilets. Everyone is nodding. All the Japanese understudy are nodding.
At school, you clean the school toilets.
You clean school toilets. I understand the classroom. That's what we do in Germany too.
Sure, Australia too.
But the toilets, I was like, what?
Yeah. It sounds like a recipe for dysentery and other diseases and so forth.
But
Sounds like a.
seems to teach kids to
Well,
not.
I guess so. You guys
the
made
toilets
it, all,
here is
didn't
quite
you?
clean.
Well, they are. It's very clean. The place is extremely clean.
I guess people learn that early on.
Okay. So now, okay, I guess cleanliness, order, rule following, and group orientation are really the values that you get taught from an upbringing in Japan. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What's going on? Yep. Talk to me.
Sorry. Rules. Now I realize what we're actually going towards. There is a lot of unspoken rules and spoken rules, and even sometimes there's a little rule book that pupils get here in Japan.
Really?
And it will explain what you are allowed to wear. So let me grade you.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Let me grade you.
Go on.
Ladybeard.
Grade us, eh? Go on.
Okay, I'm not sure if we're still going to be on camera.
Oh, sit back down. Sit back. It's all right.
Okay.
So
So first of all, you're... So, Ladybeard turning up, first day of school. First of all, you could not wear the girls' uniform. You'd have to wear. I am so sorry. They would not let you. They wouldn't understand you.
Hashtag cancel Cathy Cat.
No! I'm just going by the strictest rules.
All right, please continue.
I think you're not allowed to have a beard.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
That
so
was
you
the
have
same
to
in my
shave your
school.
beard.
Yeah.
You
Same
have
in
to
my school.
shave.
Yep,
The
sure.
Ladybeard has to shave the Ladybeard. You're actually wearing loafers, so that's fine. Actually, you're wearing the right school shoes, so
Good,
you
that's
got that
good.
one. Your nails aren't the right length.
Hey, what do you
They're
mean?
very short.
I recently clipped them.
If you hold your hands in front of you and people can see the top of your nails peeping out from the other side, your teachers can see that, you will have to cut your nails.
Are you fully cut, but look how short my nails are.
Your nails are good. You
Ah,
passed that
yes!
one.
My nails are wicked,
You passed that one.
Sweet.
Long hair, no.
Oh, for Christ.
No.
What about for female humans?
There's very strict rules. There was a ponytail rule. In some places, in some schools, girls are not allowed to wear a ponytail because it could excite the boy students. In other places, they have to wear a ponytail because it could injure them during sport activities. In other places, they have to cut their hair so short that they cannot put it into a ponytail because it might, in sport matches, someone might pull their hair or something like that. So there's a lot of rules on girls here in Japan for whatever reason. So let me just grade you a little bit more. If this is not, I'm not sure if that, your hair color is too bright. A lot of students are not allowed to have bright hair colors. Even if your hair color is your natural color, you might get reprimanded for that, and you might get told to dye it black to look like everyone else's hair color.
Have to look like everybody else.
Also, underwear seems to be a thing. We interviewed people in the streets of Tokyo.
You're not having to have a squeeze at my underwear.
No,
I think.
no, I'm not
Sit back
gonna-
down.
I'm gonna
Ladybeard's had enough of this
soon.
objectification. My goodness.
Have to wear white underwear is another rule. And
White underwear?
white underwear has to be white. I don't know why. I don't make them rules.
Can you wear like bike shorts under your pants so that way you've got double up undies and that way if you get a bit exposed it's not
I think
that
some
awful?
do. The length of skirts, so in your case, setting the case as the school you're allowed to be Ladybeard, the length of your skirt will also be prescribed by the school. So you can't make your skirt too short.
I mean, everything you're saying, this sounds very similar to a lot of the rules that the private girls' schools had in Australia.
Oh, right.
And it kind of was, in Australia, it was a case of like the private schools had a lot of rules and the public schools didn't.
Oh,
Generally speaking, Australians are quite casual, but the ones with rules were the private schools and so forth, right?
all right.
So that doesn't sound too different to me from private school in Australia, to be frank.
Do you have a ponytail rule though? I think that one's
I think the girls have some kind of rule like that. They have the knickers rule and they have the skirt length rule. And they have
Even in
various
Australia,
other
I
uniform rules.
had the image of you being free and relaxed. And,
Wow, yeah,
whoa.
in broad terms, yes. But I mean, it's a school by school situation. Listen, here's what I'm interested in really talking about. What do you think in terms of raising the kids here versus the Western world in terms of the society and the way society functions? Because I feel like the Western world is far more, I guess, dangerous at a kind of a physical street level, whereas Japan is extremely safe, which is fantastic. But Japan has a bunch of other interesting problems, which I think you can't ignore if you're going to choose to raise the kids here as opposed to elsewhere. Yeah, for instance, the demographic collapse in Japan, the fact there's no babies happening, but there's all these old people happening, so there's all this pressure on the society, so therefore there's all this encouragement to have babies. So if you go and have a baby in the countryside, the government will pay you to have your baby in the countryside.
Oh, right.
All this kind of thing. Yeah. A lot of prefectures, they're doing stimulus programs, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I heard you actually in certain areas that was actually in the corner of Tokyo, they were trying to invite families to come and actually giving them almost free housing.
Yeah.
So
Lots of that.
just out on the outskirts of Tokyo, it's obviously in the more mountainous areas.
And so I feel like in Japan, if you raise the kids in Japan, they're going to be in a physically safe environment. But however, there's various dangers, but they're just, the dangers are elsewhere. They're kind of subverted and whatnot. They're
More
kind of part of
mental. I think in the West, you might have more of a physical and mental thing with like schools and bullying and how safe is your way home, that kind of stuff. While in Japan, generally pupils like age 6, hajimete no tsukai, they have to do a lot of things. They walk home by themselves and
They do the hajimete child abuse by themselves, of course. Yeah, you're right.
all of that,
Of course, yeah.
So you can't, that it is, in that sense, it's a safer environment, but there's a lot of like conforming to the group.
Yeah.
That kind of group. This is a group culture.
Yes,
you have to
very
be
much
part
so.
of the group harmony.
Yes.
While individualism is very much a good thing in the West.
In the Western world, we look at individuals much more favorably.
It can be a bit of a problem in Japan if you constantly don't do what everyone else is doing.
You must do what everyone else does.
And stuff. So that, on that aspect, again, it really depends on how the parents, what kind of environment do the parents want to raise their kids? Do you want to have a very safe environment with a lot of mental pressure, study well, perform well, go well with the group?
Be the same as everybody else, yep.
Exactly.
Read the air. Don't make trouble.
Don't cause trouble.
Make trouble. What's that? Or do you want to teach the kids to be more individualistic? In which case, to think for themselves more.
I think that's my personal opinion. It's totally up to everyone to decide. But I think if kids already had a little bit of a dabble into Western society and you bring them to Japan and they love that Western freedom, some of them, from my experience, is teaching. Well, no, that's not very broad experience mentioning that, but some of them assimilated very well and they kind of didn't want to show that they could speak English. Some were like, no, I speak English. Like, let me be part of this. But I think the happiest ones I've seen were in international schools, so they can live both sides.
Both lives.
They don't have to choose between mommy or daddy. They can be both at the same time. And, the ones I met who have been to international schools seem to be very happy, very proud of themselves, very, living both sides. And without having to hide another or be a little bit ashamed of another, saying, oh no, I kind of don't want to stand out, that kind of stuff. So, but again, depends on the school, depends on the person. You can't just give an overall answer to this.
I think I agree. I think it's 100% a question which is tailored to the individual, and the individual in terms of the child and what their strengths and weaknesses and interests are. Also the individuals in terms of the parents and what values and so forth they want to teach their kids. And of course, I say, have you got the family support? That's the other big question. The family is kind of a thing to itself in Japan, isn't it? Versus everywhere else. Like, it's, we love our families and everything, but it's not the family
Very
like it
important.
is in Japan. Right? Extremely important.
I think also the community, are you planning on going to one of the big cities, or are you just going to go to the countryside?
Yes.
And if you have a child that visibly stands out, being half Japanese, half American, if it visibly stands out, that might be good. People might go, oh, you're so cute. Or it might cause jealousy and then might lead to a stigma. Maybe, oh, you look different. It could go both ways. But I think it would be wonderful if we could maybe in the future invite someone in here who is half Japanese and
that's a good idea.
And then maybe interview them
That's a good idea.
about their experience.
Oh, yes, we'll find a half person. That'd be good. Interview.
That is basically, it's a term here in Japan. Hafu is a term here for half Japanese. Some like it, some don't like it, so that we should maybe ask our future guest that question as well.
I think as well, Japan being the ethnically homogenous society that it is, comparatively, if you have a child that's half in Japan, they are very much going to stand out. Whereas in the Western world, they probably won't nearly as much. There's a lot more kind of ethnic diversity in the Western world.
I remember I just went to school with so many different...
Me too.
So many different people from so many different places in Europe that you don't even think about that. But in Japan, still, since, like I said, it's very homogenous.
Very much so. So being, and like we say, being different is not necessarily smiled upon.
Not necessarily.
So yeah, it really does come down to a matter of individual choice. This has been a serious one, hasn't it?
Oh, a very serious
very
one.
Somber in this one.
It really also depends on where does the child want to go to in the future, or where do you want your child to go to in the future? Do you want?
Is it an academic child? Is it more of
What
a
are
tactile child?
Yeah, is it a child that loves music or more playing by themselves? It really depends on each and every person what their priorities are.
Yeah, is it a unique child? Is it a child that is pretty chilled out and happy to just do what everyone else is doing, do as they're told?
Well, okay, let's wind it up to us. What do you think was good about growing up in your country?
Australia, generally speaking, quite diverse, lots of different people and so forth. Lots of focus on individuality, and things are relatively relaxed, so there is not massive pressure at all times. We kind of go to work when we're at work, and then when we're at play, we chill out.
So it seems very positive. Your experience sounds very positive.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got my ass kicked at school all the time. It was an awful experience at school whilst I was there. But look, I only had one upbringing, so I can't compare with anything else. Kind of. What about you, Germany?
No, having taught at elementary schools in Japan, I'm there's so much we could learn, but I don't think you can just flip a switch and make people take on some of the good things that they have here at elementary schools to raise a good relationship between the kids, the seniors, the juniors, and the teachers. I think they have a very caring environment where they really look after themselves. Depending obviously on the school. So there's a couple of things where I'm I wish we had that in German schools. So if I had to compare it, there's a lot of aspects I prefer in Japan from their education system, that kind of peacefulness. Because in Germany, you're kind of left to your own devices with a lot of things, with the studying, with the fighting in class. You're just out in the wild, like a battle. I sometimes explain it as it's going into a battle. You're okay, get ready for this. I have to learn all this massive tons of English vocabulary. It's your fault, you English-speaking peoples. And, there's a lot of pressure from the teachers and other students. So.
I've just been held responsible for an entire nation's educational system.
Yes, all that
sorry,
vocabularies.
Cathy Cat. I didn't realise it was up to Ladybeard to pick up that slack. Sorry.
Yeah, all that vocabulary, all the salt.
I learnt your language in school, damn it.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's even harder. That is even harder.
Yeah.
Respect for learning the German language. Right, hope that answered.
Yeah, Seaweed, I wish you well making a decision about your child and where to raise them. And I hope it works as well. And you should probably talk to your spouse about this.
Yeah.
As opposed to getting our opinions. Yeah. Get our opinions and don't ask the spouse.
Also, make sure in Japan is also very important. You have to pay a lot of things. German education. One thing about good German education that is good is it's for free. Well, in Japan, it's very expensive, and you have to pay even the school uniforms and all of that. So if you need to also be ready for investing a lot of.
And look, I'll be frank, if you have a half child and one parent's American and one parent's Japanese, I think you should take them back and forward a bit and just try and get them to experience both. And then then they'll be in a strong position to make a decision later in life about where they would like to spend their time. On that note, I think we're out of time on this episode of Cat with Beard.
Thank you so much for tuning in. That was a very serious topic, but thank you for sending your email to nippon@joqr.net. I must have said it right because finally we got emails free. So nippon@joqr.net. We have a pile actually of more of your submissions. We're gonna go and work through that in the future. Maybe we can do quicker answers, like the question of the week or something.
That's a good idea.
That might be answering it a little bit quicker. But this was a topic that had a lot of extra thing we could talk about. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Seaweed, for providing the wonderful topic for today's podcast. Yeah. Cathy Cat, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet?
type in with a C, Cathy Cat _TV to find me on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. But if you just type in Cathy Cat on YouTube, you should find me, and also the Ask Japanese channel, for which I take into street interviews here on the streets of Tokyo. And Ladybeard, how about you?
Go to Ladybeard _Japan on the internet, and also my pop group Babybeard _Japan, also on the internet, and press the like and follow buttons. My new band has new music coming out very soon. Check it out. And tell the people how they should approach this podcast with the likey, clicky stars and
Rate
such.
it to the highest stars. You could rate it, please. And also, please find us on the YouTubes. You type in Cat with Beard from Japan, and you should find our brand new YouTube channel, so you can actually also see our wonderful smiley faces.
And follow our Twitter. We got a flippin' Twitter now, yeah?
We have a Twitter now, too.
Cat
Oh,
with
Twitter.
Beard on the Twitter.
We have a Twitter, too.
Yes, come and
Yes.
tweet with us.
Yes.
This has been amazing. I've been Ladybeard. She's been Cathy Cat. You've been the listener or viewer, as the case may be. And we've been very grateful to have you for another episode of
Cat